A very good evening to all of you. Welcome you all today to our session on fertility treatments in COVID times. How safe are they? I'm assuming that most of you have attended our last session, but for the ones who have not attended, let us have a quick overview of for those who have not. Okay. So the last session, what we discussed was, is planning pregnancy safe during these COVID times? The answer is definitely not a yes or a no, because it is absolutely a personal decision. As far as the medical aspects of this is concerned, so far the studies have showed no impact of COVID on pregnancy with respect to miscarriages, congenital anomalies, preterm births, or IUGR. So planning pregnancy in COVID times is absolutely a personal decision, wherein the couples have to, take into consideration of these factors of age, and the kind of social environment they are in, whether they are at a high risk of, risk of COVID, and also the constraints of medical care during COVID time, and also other psychological issues are. These factors have to be taken into consideration before you plan pregnancy. So overall, pregnancy can be planned and the pregnancy can be safe in COVID times, provided you take all the necessary precautions and strictly adhere to them. The pregnancy will be safe. So today, as we move on, the session is on whether fertility treatments can be resumed in this COVID times. And for this session, we have four expert fertility specialists with us. We have Dr. Ratna, our senior specialist with us, Dr. Pallavi Chelsani, and Dr. Renuka. We welcome you. So, as we all know, in mid-March, this unexpected situation of COVID has completely put a halt to all the fertility treatments. For few, actually, they were in the phase of evaluation, and few couples were actually in the midst of fertility treatments. So this sudden situation has put a completely halt of these treatments. So as we move on, and we have understood that this COVID will not end sooner, and also the situation is stabilizing, and the goal of these infertile couples is to get pregnant, irrespective of COVID being there or not being there. So I think at some point we have to get back to the treatments. So today in session, we are going to hear from our experts as to whether we can resume these fertility treatments, and if yes, then how safe are they? So we start with our first question, Dr. Pallavi. Can the fertility treatments be resumed?
Yeah, I think half of the answer Dr. Preeti has already given us. So when you think of fertility treatments, two things hit your brain. That is, one thing is whether getting pregnant this time is really good enough at the COVID times. And the second thing is how good or how safe is it to go to a fertility center to resume back your fertility treatments. As we already have discussed completely, and I think you have already understood that the pregnancy part of it in our last session, and Dr. Preeti has also updated whatever we have discussed in our last session. So now in this session, we would definitely tell you whether fertility treatments could be resumed back or not. So the second point is it really safe to coming to the hospital? Yes, probably we have taken all the safety measures for you to come back to the hospital, so that all the social distancing right from the entry, let's say when you get down and get into the lift, we have taken all the protocols of social distancing at the billing point. And when you meet your doctor, we have made sure that the appointments are slotted in such a way that nobody crisscrosses each other's appointment, and you actually spend a very little time in the hospital and your treatments are going very crisp and very soon. Let's say probably your scans are getting faster and we are minimizing the time you spend in the hospital, and all these things are from our side. From your side, probably, as you already know and you're well versed of wearing a mask and using a sanitizer and all that things, from your side would be a good sign to go ahead with fertility treatments. On top of it, previously when you were all working and where you had a very busy schedule, you had to go to the office, and then if it's an IT job, you had to travel a lot, and then there's a lot of pollution, there's a lot of lifestyle which you have to undergo a lot of stress, and then you had time commitments wherein you have to take care of your family as well as your job. So all these things, I think it had cut down, and then now that you're sitting at your home and then you're relaxed and you have things to do like work from home, it's become very easy that you can come back to the fertility treatments because the stress levels are definitely gone lower and downer. So probably it's a big yes to come back to a fertility treatment.
Thank you, Dr. Pallavi. That was a very crisp message that fertility treatments can be resumed provided necessary precautions are taken. Now, let's move on to our next important question. Is that what, Dr. Renuka, can you please answer this for us? What are the new normal protocols and policies which are adopted in the fertility centers or the hospitals to make them COVID-free?
So usually what we are following here, it starts right from your home. You can make a video call whenever possible. That is the first facility we are giving for you to avoid frequent visits and getting exposed yourself to many people or this hospital kind of environment. So wherever possible, whenever possible, you can take a video consultation. And once you come here, your appointments are placed in such a way that you will have longer time. I mean, for us to sterilize everything and give enough spacing between two patients, and we can finish your procedures or scans or whatever tests and all in a very short time, and you can leave the hospital as quickly as possible. And for men who want to undergo semen analysis, previously we did not accept semen samples which are collected off-site, but for safety issues, now we accept home collection of semen, which is also very, which can also prevent the spread of infection. And who cannot bring the semen sample within half an hour, for such kind of people, we are asking them to give in the hospital, and we are giving appointments in such a way that we have enough time to sterilize the room where you are going to give the sample. This is for the basic evaluation part. Even for the treatment parts like for IUI and all, we are giving appointments with a longer gap so that we'll have enough time to sterilization and cleaning process, and at the same time the crowd is less. And we have provided with sanitizing equipment, and we allow patients only who doesn't have any symptoms, and we screen the patient from the entry point, and we are even our staff are screened regularly, and we see that they don't have any symptoms and all when they come for their duties. These all things will reduce the chances of spread of this pandemic.
Yes. So in addition to this, I would like to emphasize on the point that it's not just the patients who are being screened at the entrance. Every day, even the staff, the hospital staff, including the doctors, are screened at the entrance. And we're also encouraging video consultations. So Birthright Fertility, we have an active portal wherein video consultations are actively done. So that would minimize your number of visits to the hospital only if required. Whether if you want to, you're asked to come in for a scan or something, then you physically come to the hospital. But if there's any advice which can be given on video consultation, is absolutely fine. So we encourage video consultations as well. So I think with these kind of new normal protocols and these policies, we are definitely ensuring that we have an environment which is COVID-free, making it safe for the patients and also the hospital staff. And we will move on to the next question, Dr. Ratna. To proceed with the treatments, should these couples go through this reevaluation, especially because it has been like 6 months wherein we left all the treatments? So now when they come back to these treatments, do they have to go through all this evaluation once again to resume the treatments, or you can just take them straight?
Right. So just I'll add a point to the last question, to the previous question. So the new protocols are, you can see all of us in scrubs and all of us wearing masks. So just I'm reiterating that on our side also, we are taking all the precautions to make it a safe experience for you. Now, regarding re-evaluation, definitely you will not be treated as new patients, and we will not repeat the infections, the investigations from scratch. But hormones are dynamic, sperm counts can fluctuate, and thyroid and glucose controls need to be rechecked. Some of the major investigations, such as a karyotype or something, will not be repeated again, but we'll individualize each couple, go through the file and sit with you, and whatever needs to be repeated to plan the treatment, like the thyroid level or a glucose level will be done. Your viral screens and all, they will be there for 1 year validity. So such things will not be repeated. It has been a long break. March to September is nearly 6 months. So we will try to make the journey as smooth as possible once you come back. That's it.
Yes, another thing to add on, in the 6 months, in case if you have developed any new problems, like new symptoms of your cycles getting irregular, or if you have put on weight, or any other issues, I think we'll have to individualize and probably evaluate you for those reasons. Otherwise, those investigations which have been done in the past still hold good. Dr. Pallavi, we have this question.
Yes.
Going in specific with the treatment. Sorry, Dr. Ratna, can
Yeah,
you,
I wanted to add
you want to add some?
Yeah. Yeah, what Dr. Preeti said was a very relevant point. Unfortunately, many of us have put on weight in the lockdown. So such things will be addressed and, try to correct such things which have happened over the last 6 months. Thank you, Preeti.
Thank you. So moving in specific to the treatments of ovulation induction and IUI treatments, the very basic level of treatments, how do you think Birthright especially has modified the protocols to make it safe for the patients?
So yeah, coming to ovulation induction and IUI treatments especially, as everybody knows that ovulation induction and IUI treatment starts off from day 2 or day 3 of your cycle. So when you come on day 2 or day 3 of your cycle, nowadays we make sure that the time slot is given especially for you, and then we do a scan and we deal with you and we send you off in a very given particular time. And then probably prior we were very interested to see you a few days in a regular intervals, like let's say on day 9 or day 11. So multiple scans would be done. But nowadays, just because of this COVID situation, we really don't want you to come to the hospital on a regular basis. So probably we are placing the scans a little further. Like meaning when you do a day 2 scan, probably your next scan, we can place it on day 11 or day 12, so that we know that your egg is already ready, and then you can probably go ahead with a rupture and try having trying at home, or you can come back for an IUI. So probably we are minimizing the time you're spending in the hospital. The frequency of scans have come down. Definitely the time you spend in the hospital is minimized. And especially for IUI, previously we used to take a sample on site, but nowadays we are accepting home samples, so that there's a very minimal contamination. You just have to get the sample from home, give it off, and then probably the husband actually can leave after signing and doing whatever minimum requisites we have here, and then the female can wait in the lobby and then get the IUI done and leave, so that we make sure that male is also safe, the male partner is also safe, and he can leave earlier from the hospital.
Absolutely. Now coming to IVF treatments, I think IVF treatments are, are treatments which require more close monitoring, and also they require procedures, procedures like oocyte pickup and the transfer. So, Dr. Renuka, can you, answer this? So, how do you ensure that the treatments are safe?
So again, the care to prevent this COVID infection in IVF patients, or patients who want to go for IVF, it again starts prior to the actual treatment. So for most of the patients who want to go for IVF, we give a time of a month. We can say it as a preparatory phase, where we ask them to minimize their exposure to external environment or whatever. We advise them to stay at home as much as possible to reduce the risk of getting infection when they want to get that proper treatment. And when we give that pre-medication and all, we advise them to be careful and to inform any health problems, especially any symptoms if they get related to COVID, so that we can plan accordingly. And once they come for the treatment per se, from on second day, or before we start the stimulation, we test the couple for this COVID infection, and if they are negative, then we go ahead with the treatment. And if any one of the couple, they come positive, and we cancel the treatment. And in between that cycle, at any point of time, if anyone of the couple develops symptoms, then we may have to reevaluate and think whether we have to take the cycle forward or not. And again, for semen freezing and all, again, as already discussed, similar to IUI, we are encouraging for home collection. And once the husband is negative for COVID test, they give the sample for freezing, and we prefer now to using the frozen sample to avoid the infection. And this is the care we are taking when we are doing the stimulation. And during the oocyte retrieval, all our staff are already screened before they come into the theater and lab. And similarly, we use that PPE kits and all to minimize the infection spread. And when we are doing the retrievals, we are preferring giving spinal anesthesia, that is anesthesia which is given to your spine instead of giving the general anesthesia, which will again reduce the risk of spread of COVID infection. And after retrieval, again, when we do a transfer, usually then again you will be staying at home after that, and once again you will be coming for only the result. So this is what we are doing for stimulation protocols. And when we are doing embryo transfers, frozen embryo transfers, again we usually start the treatment from second day. And for these people, we are testing for COVID infection before embryo transfer, that is before we are giving the injection, so that if they are negative, we will go ahead with the transfer. If they come to be positive, we cancel the transfer cycles. And for donor programs and all, we are doing donor semen programs only, because we have ample number of samples which we have stored, which we have collected before this pandemic has started. But now we are not doing the donor egg and surrogacy programs, as we don't know in what status these donors or surrogates are in.
Absolutely. Just couple of points I would like to highlight on. See, as we know, IVF treatments involve patients coming in at a stretch for about 8 to 9 days for the injection. So especially for IVF patients, what we are ensuring at Birthright is that we give staggered appointments. So we have set aside a couple of hours every day dedicatedly for IVF patients, so that the injections are given at a very, space time, so that there is no overcrowding of the patients. And the second thing is about the lab. Because see, we're all taking all the precautions, especially in the OP and to do with the oocyte retrieval, the anesthesia and all of that. But again, in the lab, I think it is very important for us to ensure that we have a very COVID-free environment. So when it comes to the freezing of these embryos, so at the moment, we are storing all these embryos in dedicated tanks. We are not mixing them with the cryopreserved embryos or the sperms which we already have. So we have dedicated cryopreservation tanks for COVID, doing for procedures which are being done presently. And especially in the situation wherein we have to do a pickup for a COVID positive patient. And then again, we have a dedicated separate tanks kept for us to freeze them. So overall, wherever it is possible, we are trying to minimize the risk of COVID, so that, we are in a very safe environment. And moving on to the next important aspect, which we are oftenly nowadays facing, is that lot of couples, when the lockdown started, I think they have, especially the software couples, they have been given this work from home option, and all of them have relocated to their hometowns. It could be to neighboring districts or neighboring states as well. But in this process, their fertility treatments have been paused. And now we see that this work from home option for most of the companies has been extended to mid next year also. So does it mean that these fertility treatments also have to be paused till then? So what is your advice, Dr. Ratna, for them, especially for couples who are, have stopped their treatments and who wish to come back only once, this lockdown is lifted?
Right. So this is a confusing and a difficult time for people who have paused their fertility treatments. Now, my advice is 5 months is quite a long time. So the first step would be reconnect with your fertility team. If you can't travel back, at least first have a video consultation. In that, you will be stratified. Who needs an urgent treatment? Who can wait? And what type of a treatment can we do to alter your, to decrease your COVID risk at this time? As the panelists have said, lots of precautions have been taken in the IVF center. Protocols have been modified. And as Pallavi mentioned, we are trying to call you for less scans. We are seeing that you don't wait. There is no crowding in the lobbies. And also, where possible for IUI cases, we are trying to teach you how to self-inject at home. The problem that happens if you sit at home and don't connect is certain changes can come in the body. Sperm counts are fluctuating. Suddenly they may come down. Like that, the ovarian power may come down. So sitting at home and worrying about it is not the correct thing to do. Pick up your phones, call your centers, and have a chat with the fertility consultant as how you can start your treatment and when you can start. So this is not to say all of you should start treatments now in the COVID phase. There are various options. Let us say it's an IVF cycle. You can get the egg collected, the embryos will be prepared and frozen, and as and when the COVID decreases, you can get the embryos transferred. Because it's a novel virus and we yet do not know, like the most of the opinions are coming that it does not have a harmful effect on the fetus. But for those of you who are so worried, you can even wait up to next January and get the embryos transferred. So my advice there to all the couples going to all the fertility clinics is don't sit at home and start worrying. Connect with your fertility team and they will give you individualized assessment and prioritize you and say, okay, you have to come for treatment, you have to do this, and you can carry on treatment according to their advice.
Yes, Dr. Ratna rightly said. So obviously there are a set of patients who cannot postpone their treatments till this COVID ends. So definitely they are the ones who need to go ahead with their fertility treatments ASAP. So reconnect and then assessing your situation and taking advice is the best thing for you going forward. Dr. Pallavi, we have spoken about all this while about what the centers are doing to provide a COVID-free environment and how the treatments are being made safe for you. But the important aspect is, should the patients be taking any particular precautions while undergoing these treatments?
Yes, absolutely. Basically, we have already spoken a lot about the doctor side and the staff side and the OT side, lab side and the hospital side. But when it comes to a patient side, it's really, really important to know that first thing is, since because of this lockdown and we have work from home options and we are stuck with all the family work because you have too much of work to do at home, I don't think so anybody would be concentrating on your diet and your exercise. So that's a main point which we would definitely like to look into. So diet and exercise when you're coming back to fertility treatments should be really looked into. And the second point is, when you're coming for treatments, as everybody knows that you have to carry your own mask and you have to have a sanitizer with you, and then make sure you actually follow and you follow the rules of the hospital by giving a declaration form when you enter the hospital. That's the first step which we do. So make sure you give the right thing in the declaration form. If you have little symptoms or if you have any problem there, the problem would definitely be looked into and it would be sorted out, and probably your fertility treatments when and where could be sorted out. And then the second point is, when you come to the hospital, as I already told you, the timings are already set, things like that. So these are the important things which you have to really look into from your side. And the most important thing is, it's better you avoid having food in the crowded places, avoid socializing too much, and then having get-togethers. I think all these things have to be looked into in the patient point of view.
Yeah, just one more thing. See, most of the times what happens is, if the couples are taking treatment, they think that it is only the woman who is coming in for the treatments, taking injections and all of that. Do you advise any precautions for the husbands as well?
Husbands, yes, mainly about the diet and the habits, especially, and the probably the stress. And
Yeah,
we
very
would,
true.
I think the stress factor of the husband should come down, and then the support system to the wife is very, very equally important from the husband side.
Right, and because they
Dr.
are both staying in the same house and eating together, it is very important that he keeps up social distancing as strictly as the wife. He should not take out his mask in public places. He can't go and have a good time with his friends just because his wife is taking the injections. It's just to be emphasized that as a couple they maintain social distancing, and then only you can be really free from the COVID fear.
Yeah, absolutely. This temporary kind of social isolation, I think, is a must while the couple is going ahead with the treatments. It's not just with the wife, but the husband also. So, in this, all this can ensure that you're also reducing your risk for COVID. Let's go ahead with the last question. So we understand that a lot of us are facing with this uncertainty of COVID, and the same time, if the couples also have to go ahead with these fertility treatments, is there an increase in these psychological issues? What are you observing any increase? Dr. Ratna, do you want to take this?
Yeah, absolutely. As it is, everyone is having co-anxiety. When are we going to be the next patients who are going to get COVID? And on top of that, planning pregnancy has multiplied the stress for these couples. So stress is a bad thing for anybody, especially if you're taking fertility treatments. It can affect your sleep, it can affect your hormone cycle, it can delay the ovulation. So the message here is, you have to be positive, you have to be ready to take help, you have to admit to the fact that there is an increased stress at this time. Stress has come as emotional stress, job stress, financial stress. So in various forms we are being affected, and so on top of it, you're having to plan a pregnancy. So don't be shy to take help from counselors, from psychologists, and first of all admit that there is a need to take help. So in this way, I think you can tackle your treatments more successfully if you're taking help from your partners, your family, your doctors, as well as psychologists if necessary. Shall we move to the questions, Dr.
Yeah, Dr. Renuka, do you want to add something to this, especially patients who are going through this psychological stress of balancing this pandemic and fertility treatment? So what is your advice for them?
As already Madam said, infertility itself is a stressful condition. Now that this COVID thing has added up, the stress levels are definitely more, especially for women who are married for a longer period and who have more problems like reduced reserves or fibroids or endometriosis. They are little more worried about this. And as again, as Madam said, they should not feel shy to take help from either their doctor, if not a psychiatrist. At least they can talk to their doctor, fertility specialist, and then get the best suggestion which is more apt for them. And they can go ahead with the treatments if they are advised to go ahead. But they also should cope up with the financial things and family pressures and all. And once they accept, then I think they can manage them well.
So I guess,
Yeah, I
Preeti,
think
there is a message to the
yes,
family
now
also.
yeah, it's time for us to go ahead with the questions. So we have a
Yeah.
lot of questions in here. So to start off, give me a second, please. Yes, we have a question here. Dr. Ratna, do you want to take this question, please? I have 3 IUI failures, planning for the 4th IUI in the next month. What would be the success rate for the 4th time of IUI? My height is 5'6" and my weight is 77 kilos. So do I need to reduce my weight? So we have a couple here with 3 IUI failures planning for the 4th. And we would want to know that, what would be the success rate? And is the BMI an issue in there?
Right. So whenever we at Birthright are planning for the 4th IUI, we go into we try to go into causes of failures of the previous 3 IUIs, and we try to improve upon the factors to make the last IUI a success. So what would these be? Yes, if the weight is 77 kgs, it's wise to take a gap and try to slowly reduce weight at, let us say, 1 kg per week and come to 72 kgs and then go for the IUI. Now, what happens with each IUI is you review the cycle. Was the insemination performed correctly? That is around the ovulatory period. Was the lining of the uterus good? Was there any other factor which could have been improved? Could we have had 2 eggs or 3 eggs instead of 1 egg? So like that, the first thing would be to review the 3 IUI cycles, try to find a way in which we can make the 4th IUI a success. Yes, definitely lose some weight and not be in a rush to finish 4 cycles. You can give a gap and then go for the 4th cycle and discuss with the doctor how you can improve the success rate. Thank you,
Yes,
Preeti.
thank you. This one question is for me. I underwent 2 IVF cycles. The first one went up to 22 weeks and I had a preterm birth. Twins placenta of 1 baby separated. Second was an IVF in January this year. The baby did not grow beyond 6 weeks. Now I'm planning my third and it is my last set of embryos. I'm 32.5 years. How safe is it to plan now? So as my advice would be that as the embryos are ready in there, so and you're just about 32.5 years, I think it is important for us to evaluate the reasons for those poor outcomes in the last 2 IVFs before we proceed for the embryo transfer again this time. Those 2 outcomes don't seem to be related because one pregnancy went up to 22 weeks and it had a poor outcome, but the second time again I think it was a miscarriage at 6 weeks. The reasons are different. Probably this was because the embryo wasn't healthy. So in your case, before proceeding for the third transfer, it is important for us to have a reassessment as to is there any reason that we can find for these poor outcomes, and only after that going ahead with the treatments would be the best thing for you. We have another question, Dr. Pallavi. If a 35-year-old lady has small polyp and want to plan pregnancy, is it important to remove the polyp and is it safe in current condition? I think we answered this question last time, but I know you can go ahead again now.
Yeah, so basically they say it is 35 years and there is a polyp there. So 35 years itself says that, the fertility rates might come down. So we have to look into her egg count and then the weight she has. And 35 years is definitely an important mark wherein we have to decide about the fertility treatments. And if there is a polyp and if it's right sitting inside the uterine cavity and the size of it is telling us to remove it, definitely we have to go ahead and remove the polyp, because at 35 years I don't think so we have to delay any further for fertility treatments because of your age especially, and factors like that. And it is quite safe because here in Birthright we do a COVID test before we go ahead to do a hysteroscopic polypectomy. In case if the COVID test is negative, yes, we proceed to do a polypectomy. So I think it's quite safe with all the safety precautions being taken here.
Yes, absolutely. 35 years, I think there's no need to, wait further. Can just well ahead, go ahead. This question is for Dr. Renuka. What is the right age to start a fertility treatment? And we are planning for IVF second time. Please suggest how to plan.
It's actually not the right age. When a couple is married for more than a year, we say that the couple is suffering and they're not able to conceive. Then we say that they're having fertility issues. So whatever may be the age, if they are not able to conceive after 1 year, we try to look into the problem and try to treat the problem and see that the couple conceives. But if the woman age is more than 35 years or 35 years, if they can't conceive within 6 months, then we start evaluating the couple and start the treatment. And what is the second part, Dr. Preeti?
We are planning to go ahead with IVF second time. please suggest how to plan.
Okay, if your first IVF cycle was not successful because of a certain reason, first we need to know what the reason was. Was it the quality of the egg or number of eggs, or it is a sperm factor and all? We need to know the proper details of your first cycle and the proper reason for which it was not successful. Based on that, and which protocol they have used for you in the first cycle, and based on this previous history of your cycle, we prepare you for the next cycle and change the protocol if required, and then improve your general condition, as well as the we give certain medication to improve the gamete health for both male and female partner, and then we go ahead with the treatment. So main thing is we need to know why your first cycle did not work for you, and then we have to plan for the next cycle.
Absolutely. See, going for the second cycle, it doesn't mean that the chances will be going up. The re-evaluation is again very important to improve the success rates. This question is for Dr. Ratna. Where the embryos are getting generated, does Rainbow has IVF machines in the same building where infertility department is? A lot of countries give ovulation injection pens. Can we also opt for the same, such that we can apply them at home ourselves rather than coming to hospitals each day? So the first question is, where are the embryos getting generated, and does Rainbow have IVF machines in the same building where the infertility department is?
Right. So our fertility department follows a hub and spoke model. That is to say that the IVF unit is in Kondapur center. The egg collection is done there. The embryos are stored there, and it is the center of all our infertility work. Our outpatient departments are there in Banjara Hills, in Kukatpalli, in Hydernagar, as well as Vikrampuri, and the OP is conducted in all these blocks, and IUIs are conducted also in all the centers, but IVF per se is done only in the Kondapur block. And the second part of the question, as far as
the second part is about the injections, whether they can administer these injections at home,
right,
rather than coming to the hospitals.
Right. So IVF injections have to be taken in the correct dose and at the correct time. So far we have asked the patients to come into the unit, and after they have their scan, the dose is decided, and sometimes after blood tests come, the dose is decided, and we are trying to see that the waiting is minimized, and we are giving them on site in the hospitals. But in future, with pandemic situations and all, certain exceptions may be made for some patients. Let us say, like those who are taking their insulin injections at home, if the patient is really confident that she can dose herself, at least alternate injections when they don't come in for a scan, they can take them at home. This will be reviewed depending upon the individualized case.
Yes,
That's
because
it,
sometimes few women will need more close monitoring because we may have to adjust the dose. So that decision can be only taken if we had scanned them. So in such situations, we may not be able to give the pens home and ask them to administer themselves. Maybe at a stretch they can take the injections for 2 or 3 days at home. But towards the later half of the cycle, we may need that alternate day monitoring to optimize the oocyte outcome. Yes. We have this question for Dr. Pallavi. Will all the test facilities be available at birthright facilities, including any blood test? It would be better to have as many as leading laboratories are now conducting COVID tests as well, and COVID patients are visiting the laboratories.
Yeah, actually, we are very proud to say that we have all the centers of Birthright having their own lab setups with all the precautions being taken for you, and all the centers are COVID-free hospitals. So we actually do all the blood tests in all the centers. I think it's easier for you to give the blood test in our own centers. As you said, there's a panic of going to some other laboratory, as other laboratories might be doing a CT chest for the COVID patients, or they might actually be doing a COVID test as well, and there might be a lot of waiting time there. as you are our patient, we give you a first priority, and we make sure that the blood tests are taken on the right time, on the right date, and with good precautions.
Yes, see, we are all our branches are actually one stop for the whole spectrum of investigations. We have a central laboratory which is in Banjara Hills. So even if the sample gets collected in any of our branches, they do go to the Banjara Hills branch and get processed in there. So all the hormonal tests and these chromosomal tests and the scans and everything are available in all our branches. And not only that, COVID tests are also being done in designated areas in all our branches. And especially these hormone tests and all, we're very particular that they're done in specific fertility hospitals, because we do not want any kind of variations in the blood or in the hormonal reports, because the drug dosages and all are decided by what we see in the hormones. So we definitely have all the blood investigations available at Birthright. And this question for Dr. Renuka: is COVID test compulsory before we start the IVF cycle? I think you've already spoken on this. Can you, again answer this for us?
Yeah, it is always better to know your COVID status before you're going for a stimulation, because we need to give you anesthesia and pick the oocytes. Or if in between the cycle, after if you don't test for this, and in between the cycle, if you get some symptoms and become sick, then all your injections will unnecessarily go waste, because they are very costly injections which you take. So before starting the stimulation, if we do the test, we can decide whether we can take you for the treatment or not. And also, we don't know how, we don't have enough studies or enough literature to say that this COVID is not going to affect the quality of the egg or not. We don't have enough data for this. So if at all you're positive and we miss that, and if something wrong happens, then it will be problematic. So it is better to test for that. It's not only for your safety, it is also for the safety of others who are dealing with you. It is also safety for your baby also. If at all you conceive with those positive oocytes and all, we don't know what is going to happen. So so it is always better to get the test done before we start the stimulation.
Yes. So Dr. Pallavi, can you take this question? Hello, ma'am. Is the COVID infection checked for all the procedures carried out, like basic ovulation, stimulation, and IUI as well? I think you've already answered this, but yeah, you can always, answer this again.
The COVID infection test which we are doing right now is mainly for the elective procedures, like for the surgeries, especially for laparoscopies and for elective LSCS and for elective gynec procedures, and especially in infertility, we are doing it for IVF cases. But definitely we are giving you a declaration form wherein you're going to write us whether you have fever, whether you have cough, whether you have sore throat. All these things are you're going to mention before we start off with the basic procedures like ovulation induction and IUI. And basically this ovulation induction and IUI, we are not intervening, or we are not doing any major procedures there, other than just starting off with the medications and doing minimal scans and asking you to try at home or get a sample from home and inject you by doing an IUI. That should be safe enough to go ahead with this protocol.
So
yes, and even in IUI, I think it's a home sample which is collected. And can you answer this? Do you think that the semen, the COVID can get transmitted through semen?
Not as of now. There has not been any documentation or any articles which actually says there is an evidence that the COVID is transmitted through the semen. So I don't think so. As of now, we have any evidence to talk on this.
Absolutely, the risk is low, so we don't have to do COVID tests for these basic procedures also, like IUI. Dr. Ratna, you wanted to add something on this?
Yeah, so if a couple have decided to go for IUI this cycle, it should be also responsibility on their part. So that is, if there is nobody in your building who has COVID, in general the environment is safe, the risk of you having asymptomatic COVID infection will be less. So it's from their side, it's a social responsibility also to come and take the treatments. So, and if at all there has been a COVID positive in your family, wait for 4 to 6 weeks, and then only you come to the clinic for your treatment and your evaluation.
This question is for you, Dr. Ratna. Ma'am, I went for 4 IUI cycles with donor sample failed. Now I want to go ahead with an IVF donor semen sample. Please tell me the cost of the donor IVF cycle. Yeah, I don't think we have to take this on this platform. Yeah, we can always get back to you through the email. Our financial counselors can talk to you on this question. So we move on to the next question. Dr. Ratna, how safe is it to go use washrooms in hospitals before scans?
Right. If you are coming to a hospital like Rainbow and Birthright, our washrooms are sanitized, let us say every 1 hour. And if you wash your hands and sanitize the hands, the washroom handles and all, it is quite safe to use the washrooms. Because in fertility, all of you know that we insist on emptying the bladder before each scan. So you have to use the washroom. And if you are coming to Rainbow, there should be no problem at all. We have strict cleaning protocols in place, and exhaust fans are there. And now more and more it is coming that it is aerosol transmitted rather than through the fomites. So please feel free and comfortable to use the washrooms. Just wash your hands and sanitize them after you use the washrooms.
Yeah, absolutely. From our end, we're taking utmost precautions, and regular cleaning is being done. So I don't think you should be worried about using washrooms in our hospitals. Dr. Renuka, can you take this question? As there are so many IVF hospitals around Hyderabad, what do you think? What aspects I should consider deciding which hospital is good for me? It's a very good question.
So in this current pandemic, I think you should consider like how well organized the hospital is, how they are organizing your appointments, whether they are providing you with video consultations, and whether the scannings are well spaced such that they have enough time to sanitize the surfaces and all, and whether the staff are regularly screened, and whether your doctor is not, I mean, even your doctor should be healthy, and your doctor should be also screened for the same. I think, and whether they are following what you say this during IUIs and all, whether they are following the protocols which will prevent the spread of these infections. And during IVF, whether they have different setups to treat positive and negative patients, and whether they have tanks separately for COVID patients and negative patients. So these things are the basic things which you have to look into before you are selecting your center, along with the expertise of your doctor also, and your finances.
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Pallavi, we go on to the next question. Can we perform embryo transfer now? And as I need to go for an ERA test.
Yeah, so embryo transfer definitely, because it is an elective procedure, I think your embryos are already inside the center, and then they're safe enough now. And it is just an elective procedure. And the scans, when we do an embryo transfer, it is hardly 3 to 4 scans. So you come on day 2, again on day 9, again on day 12 and day 14. So we know which day you have to come for scan. So you also know which day you have to be prepared to come for a scan. So it is only a minimal scan procedure, and the embryo transfer as such is not going to be a daycare procedure. It's just going to take a 3-hour procedure in the theater. So it is also a minimal OT procedure, and we had taken an utmost care that we are doing a COVID test before doing an embryo transfer, and unless if it's a negative case, we are proceeding with it, and we are doing it with utmost precautions, wearing a PPE kit and with all the sterilization, and we are fixing embryo transfer slots also such a way that we have a lot of time to sanitize our theaters. So I think it's just because it's an elective procedure, we can actually do it.
Absolutely. So we have this question for Dr. Ratna. Hello, Dr. Ratna. I'm your old patient. I'm a dentist and I have been tested COVID positive. I have used FabiFlu for 10 days. My quarantine is done and tested negative, both me and my husband. how much time should I wait to start the fertility treatment? Should I quit my job since it is high risky if I'm planning fertility treatment? A very good question.
Right. I'm happy that you've recovered from COVID. You should give yourself at least 6 weeks time to come out of the effects of COVID on your body. Let it be completely flushed out of your system, any residual side effects from the medicines, and also recover your general health. So 4 to 6 weeks is a minimum time before you should even think of starting your treatment. Now, as far as work and COVID infection is concerned, I think not working is a stress to a working lady. So you will be occupied in a very healthy manner if you are working. Just because you have got COVID, I think you will be immune for at least for the next 3 to 6 months. If what the people are saying is correct, the risk of reinfection will not be high. So aerosol generating procedures are more common in dentistry, as we are all aware. So using a very high level of personal protection, you can choose to do some amount of work. I think you should strike a balance between how much you work and how much risk you take. So definitely plan your treatment after 1 month, and choose to work in a choose to protect yourself in such a way that the risk to you of reinfection is very less.
Yes, absolutely. A very good aspect which has been discussed. We have this question for Dr. Renuka. This is something about adenomyosis. So, hello ma'am, my age is 27 and I'm suffering with adenomyosis problem since last 4 years and I don't have kids. Will this affect my pregnancy? I'm under medication for this problem. Is UAE, uterine artery embolization, treatment safe, or radiology is safe for this problem, and I need kids as well and pain relief as well. Is there any chances of getting pregnant naturally without any treatment for pregnant? Once I underwent IUI process, but it got failed and I'm having thyroid.
Okay, you're saying that you're having adenomyosis and you're taking treatment since 4 years and you're planning for pregnancy also. So if adenomyosis should not be a problem, you should have conceived by this time. So maybe we have to evaluate it. The reason why you are not able to conceive even after 4 years, it may not be only adenomyosis, it may be some other factors also. And adenomyosis is such a kind of problem which increases gradually as the time goes on. You can't just keep on trying naturally and let it grow and get into a situation where even with IVF and all, the conception will become difficult. So we need to know in which stage the problem is, and we need to decide whether you need any treatment for adenomyosis. If it is mild adenomyosis, you don't need much treatment for that adenomyosis in particular, but you may have to take treatment to conceive. If it is a little severe kind of treatment, it depends upon how severe it is and how painful your periods are and all. Sometimes procedures with non-surgical procedures like MR, FRGUS, which is a MR guided procedure, which will reduce the size of adenomyosis and will give you relief from both of your symptoms and will increase the chances for you to conceive. So again, it is proper evaluation, knowing at what stage of adenomyosis you are having will decide what kind of treatment you need.
Yes. We take the last question for today's session, and this is in particular to Dr. Pallavi. Can we come for endometrial array test this month, madam?
Yes, absolutely. You can come for endometrial array because it's as I already discussed about the FET cycle. It's going to be the same way like the frozen embryo transfer. You're going to come only for a few scans, and then after doing a few scans, we are going to take your endometrial tissue and send it for an array. And the test is going to be from the other laboratory wherein all the precautions have been taken. Yes, absolutely. When you get your cycle, you can definitely come for endometrial array.
See, we have actually a lot more questions to be answered, I think, but because of constraint of time, we will not be able to take up all the questions. So I would ask, all of you, whatever questions we have not been able to answer, can always write to us, or you can reach us on these numbers, or you can call us and mail us. We will definitely get back to you on your questions. And not only that, if you are willing to, if you wish to, come in for consultations or would like to take any video appointments, these are our contact details. So we come to the end of this session, and we have had a very interactive session. Thanks to the viewers and as well as our expert panelists. So the bottom line is that the goal for getting pregnant for infertility couples cannot disappear, even in this COVID situation. And we also know that this COVID is not going to end sooner, but it is become static. So I think it is the time for us to balance, get back to our fertility treatments, and go ahead with the fertility treatments, obviously, in a safe environment. So with this, I would ask our panelists also to give their closing remarks. Dr. Ratna, do you want to say something on this?
Yeah. So to all the couples waiting to get pregnant and who are taking their treatments, don't get stressed. One side from COVID and one side from fertility. Waiting for pregnancy is a stress. Getting treatment is a stress if you are going to get stressed. So stay calm, go to your consultants, seek adequate help, and have successful treatments, all of you. All the best. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Pallavi?
Yeah, thank you so much. It was really interactive session. So we would really like to emphasize that Rainbow Birthright is just a neighborhood hospital for all of you, and fertility is being done in all the centers of Rainbow with all the expert teams. And we again stress that Rainbow is a COVID-free hospital, so please feel free to come back to fertility treatments. Thank you.
Yeah, and last, Dr. Renuka?
Yeah, I would say to everyone that stop worrying, be practical, assess the situation, assess your situation, and then go ahead with the whatever treatment you need boldly, and communicate with your doctor so that you will get best decision, and we can work as a team, and we can help you out to come out of your problem. Thank you.
Absolutely. So I would like to again, emphasize that we at Birthright are constantly ensuring that we have a very COVID-free environment. We have modified our policies. We have modified our clinical protocols as well to reduce the risk of COVID transmission, but at the same time, not compromising on the outcomes. So feel free. You can always connect to us. If you have any queries, we're happy to, answer them. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think Dr. Preeti will make these webinars a regular feature so that so many of us can, share their opinions and anxieties and, get benefited with this webinar.
Absolutely. Yeah. We will definitely do it on a regular basis. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Yeah.